What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 6 of Small Business Conversations, where we interview small business owners from a wide variety of industries to hear their story, their struggles, their wins, their losses, learn all about their products and services, and what made them get in the game in the first place. Today, we got a special guest. She owns a Vancouver-based company and specializes in making vintage, one-of-a-kind clothing and accessories for infants up to age 10. The name of the company is Kinder and Kodomo, and the owner is Georgia. So welcome, Georgia.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for being on with us. Appreciate it. So Kinder and Kodomo, what is the Kodomo, what is the translation? Sorry.
It means child. It's Japanese for child.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
And, I used to live in Japan in my 20s, and I always loved, Japanese style and fashion. So it's a little bit of a nod just to my love of that. And it's, little 2-word names are so trendy these days. So I tried to think of one, but one that was a little bit different.
Oh, no, it's pretty cool. It's fitting. And when did you get started?
Well, the business started just over a year ago, and I was on maternity leave before that with my second son, and we spent a lot of time wandering around thrift stores. It's very rainy here, as we know, and so just on rainy days, we just walked around there, and I buy a lot of thrifted clothes for my own kids. But I started to find a lot of things that I loved, but that didn't work for my own children. I thought, someone could use this. I think someone would love this. And I just started buying things and putting them away. And then I eventually sort of got the idea, I think, that I was going to open up my own store for this stuff. And I also noticed that a lot of kids' clothing stores or small shops were sort of trending towards that sort of vintage look. A lot of sweaters and overalls were sort of coming back in style. And I thought, well, these are nice, but they're really expensive. And I see this stuff all the time when I'm out thrifting. So I thought maybe I can bring this style to people at a sort of lower price point and, bring them a lot of more unique pieces.
Oh, okay. Very interesting. So I don't know much about the thrift business. So essentially you have to go out and hunt down different articles of clothes on your own to create your store.
Yeah. And I spend a lot of time, 3, 4, 5 days a week out with my youngest son, he's 2 now, and the other one's in school. And so, we're out there hunting, but it's becoming a pretty popular business model.
Okay.
And not just for kids' clothes, but for adults as well. And so it gets pretty competitive out there. So I find I have to spend more and more time now hitting the shops.
Okay. Well, sorry to cut you off. So where exactly are you hunting down your clothing?
Well, I mean, a lot of it, the majority of it comes from thrift stores, big ones, little ones. I live pretty central in the Lower Mainland, so I'm able to go all over. During COVID, when all of those were closed, it was hunting down things on Facebook Marketplace, finding, grandmas who were knitting sweaters and, people who were decluttering their attics and finding all their kids' clothes from the 80s. And so I spent during those early COVID days, spent a lot of time driving, sometimes an hour or more out of my way to go and find find clothes from whoever was selling them.
Okay. So is it essentially like you just kind of gotta find something for $5 and be able to sell it for 10 in your store? Is that kind of the deal? Okay. Okay. So you got to find literally got to find the hidden gems, I guess, eh? All the sweet little things that,
and you start to learn which places are, which thrift stores are more expensive than others. And, so yeah, it's about, buying it for $1 or $5 and then selling it for more. I try not to mark up too much. I don't want it to be, because part of the whole business model was to make these sort of stylish clothes that you see in small shops a bit more affordable than you might find. So I try not to price them too high, but you do have to, mark them up a bit to make a profit.
Yeah. No, interesting. And so do you struggle then with maintaining inventory then, I guess? Like, is it hard to have it and to have a constant rotation?
You'd think so, but no, that's the easy part.
Okay.
Finding the clothes. The hard part is because I'm a mom, I have 2 kids. One of them is in school part-time, but photographing, measuring, listing, shipping, that's the stuff that really takes the most time. And it's, because I'm at home with my kids, it's mostly like evenings, weekends, nap time.
Right.
So that finding the things is the easy part.
Okay. Now, so your store is then it's an e-commerce store. You don't have an actual physical storefront.
No, I would love to. I'd always intended to do markets or pop-ups, but obviously COVID.
Yeah.
So I'd love to do that in the future.
Okay.
I think like a storefront it'd be too much work, I think.
No, for sure. It's got its pros and cons, but there's definitely a lot of headache, a lot of overhead and things like that.
I love the idea of it, and I like to envision it.
Yeah.
For now, we're staying. We're staying online.
Okay. No, it's a good place to be in this day and age. Everything is kind of moving in that direction, anyways. So yeah, that's good. No, it's great. What do you find is sort of, as you kind of mentioned already, the biggest challenges with this type of business?
Well, it's becoming, as I said, it's becoming more and more popular to do this kind of sort of like vintage resale. And so when I started, there were maybe 3 or 4 other Canadian shops and none locally. But now there's, I feel like every week there's a new store giving it a go, selling children's vintage. And so the big challenge for me is, how do I differentiate myself from other businesses? And how can I sort of build a customer base that's interested in sort of buying from me? And so that's been my big challenge, is sort of, how can I make myself a unique business that's different from the 10 other stores in Vancouver that are selling children's vintage clothes? And so it's been, sort of a learning curve in sort of how to, in social media and like photography and editing photos and learning the Instagram algorithm.
Yeah.
Which is really hard.
Yeah.
Jane. But I'm collaborating with some people on Instagram and doing little collections of pre-loved clothing from like local content creators. And so that's kind of a unique direction that I've taken the business. And I mean, who knows? I'm just trying to learn every day and how to, because I'm not how can I say, I'm not a pro. I'm just learning on the fly. How do I make this look, and how do I make this a real business?
Right. Oh, I mean, that's the game of entrepreneurship. I mean, everyone kind of carves their own path and kind of figures out what works best for them in their way. There's a lot of trial and error. So, that is part of the game. Nobody hits a home run on their first at bat. I can tell you that. Myself, I'm a former gym owner, and I've been in the fitness industry for 20 years, and I've had two of my own facilities, and I just recently closed my last one because of COVID. So I know the game. It's a roller coaster, and you're gonna have to just kind of just figure things out as you go. You take advice and you kind of apply what you like and make it your own. But there's no one right way to do things. You're just gonna have to kind of figure out what kind of separates you from the rest of the pack, and you kind of eventually will kind of find your groove. So it does take time. Be patient with yourself, but if you do have a good product, which it sounds like you do, you should be successful. You just got to just give yourself some time to kind of just get the word out, build a base, build that foundation. That's the hardest part about any business, is getting it off the ground. I mean, we're in the same kind of position now too with mom and pop. It's a new venture. It's completely different than anything we've done before, but we know kind of the fundamentals of business. So we're just applying that now and applying it to a whole new industry and a whole new market. But it's the same thing. It's a learning curve for sure. But all I'm trying to say is don't lose faith and stick with it, because if you have something good and something special, the market will respond.
And I really enjoy it. So
great. Yes.
Like I'm a teacher. I'm an English teacher, but I didn't go back to work because, COVID, and I wanted to stay home with my kids. And so this is a completely different industry for me, but, I really enjoy it, and it keeps me busy, and I like just learning about how to run a small business. It's kind of exciting. But yes, a lot of trial and error.
No, I can imagine it's quite a switch from being a teacher and working for the government and everything else like that, right? And it's set hours, set paycheck. Everything is kind of etched in stone. Whereas now you're swimming in the open waters all by yourself, right? So it's a completely different ball game. But it's exciting. It's just you just have to just adjust to the new lane that you're driving in. That's all. No, it's cool. And so it's just you that's running it. Is your husband helping out at all, or?
Well, my husband, he's in tech, and so he has definitely taken an interest in it, and he's in the business side of tech. Okay. And so he's really interested in like the SEO aspect of the store, and he makes all my spreadsheets for me.
Okay.
And but it's, for me, it's mostly me. I did have some sort of, I guess, volunteers, I'll call them, who would hunt down things for me in stores. But, because of COVID, it's sort of, I've pared it down a lot. And so now it's just me.
No, fair enough. It's got to start with the skeleton crew and wear all the hats in the beginning until you get things off the ground. So it makes sense. Mm-hmm. What are your, do you have any like long-term, like 2, 3, 5 years from now, any aspirations? Where do you think you want to see your company at?
I think I I have so many, I'm always floating ideas around. I think potentially getting into making some of our own clothes.
Okay, that's cool.
Might be a direction we'd like to take it, but things are so, I'm waiting to see what happens in a sort of post-COVID world, when I can open it up a little bit more and do some pop-ups and some children's markets and stuff, and see where the business can go from there. But I would definitely like to have the business out in the community more.
Okay.
But who knows where it's going to go? But I'm really enjoying it, and have any intention of stopping anytime soon. So
that's good. That's the first secret there, is enjoying the process.
Mm-hmm.
As arduous as it might be, if you enjoy it, then eventually it doesn't feel like work, and next thing you know, you're doing big things, right? But if it's a slog, then you're more likely to give up and just, it won't work out. So it's good that you're enjoying the process. That's a secret to success there for sure. No, it's great. Now, in terms of your customer base, is it mostly word of mouth right now? Is it through your website? What kind of, how are you?
It all comes through Instagram.
Okay. Your Instagram shop?
Yeah. And most people, they shop through the website, but all of my customers come through Instagram. And I try and build a following through there. And the sort of, like, most of my customers are Canadian.
Okay.
And Canadian moms, some American. Sometimes I ship internationally, but I mostly try and build a customer base through there. And I know that TikTok is like, everyone says, put your business on TikTok. That's the big app. But I don't understand. I watch it. I don't understand it. I'm going to leave.
I'm in the same boat as you.
I'm going to stick to Instagram. Moms are on Instagram.
Yeah.
And so that's where I'll stay.
Yeah, fair enough.
So eventually it would be nice to get some customers through other channels. But again, COVID, as usual, it's hard to get people from the community because I'm not out there.
Right.
So I just focus on, learning the Instagram algorithm and ideal times and ideal days and hashtags and, and try and get these moms to come to me, and then hopefully eventually I'll get some word of mouth from elsewhere. But Instagram, that's where we are right now.
Okay, well, it's a great place to be. Like you said, that's where all the moms are. So, no, definitely. Do you find it's hard? Has like shipping been an issue? I know like a lot of the major carriers have been backlogged lately. Has that been an issue with your business?
Within Canada and the States, not so much. Shipping internationally has been taking quite a long time. But I found Canada Post has been pretty reliable. It is expensive.
Okay.
And that's one of the hard parts of having a small business, especially one where most of my customers are Canadian, is Canada Post shipping prices are quite high. And so it's hard to balance sort of a reasonable shipping price with, you don't want to scare people away. With the high shipping price, especially when you're just starting a business.
Yeah.
So that's sort of, I have raised it a bit throughout the year, but that's definitely I know a lot of Canadian small businesses struggle with with Canada Post.
Yeah.
I mean, everything gets there on time, but
at a price. Crazy. Yeah. I've heard that a lot with a lot of e-commerce businesses. Is the shipping is kind of the crooks right now. It's like it's good, but it's a bit pricey, cuts into the margins a bit, and it's kind of, it can be a deal breaker sometimes. So I've heard that a lot. You know, it's coming from a brick and mortar business where you're used to just rent and wages and all these other things. You know, this type of business model has its crooks too, right? So it's like, now I got to be able to get the product to the customer in a costly fashion. So no, I understand you. We'll see. I mean, it's an interesting time right now because, I mean, everyone is doing everything online. So I feel like a lot of these big couriers are overloaded. So, you know, they're in full control, right? So they know that we need them, so they can keep their prices as high as they want. So that's the downside of it right now, unless we see some more competition in that market, right? So we'll see. Interesting. Now, why? What's so popular about the vintage model? You mentioned that there's so many competitors popping up. Why is it such a? Yeah, why are people doing this now?
I think it's just sort of becoming the, you know, trends are always changing, and for whatever reason in the past year, this sort of vintage aesthetic in children's clothes has come back in style. And it's also, I think the Gen Z has gotten really into thrifting and vintage clothes.
Okay.
And I mean, I think all young people go through like some sort of thrifting phase, but it's become quite popular for that generation. And a lot of apps have been popping up for people to resell clothes. Poshmark and Depop, Mercari are all these popular reselling apps. And it's just, I think it's kind of been something to do as well during COVID.
Okay. Just go shopping and yeah. Okay. Now, do you see yourself staying with the vintage model? Because I know fashion and stuff can be fickle too. So do you see yourself staying vintage in the long run, or do you think you're going to switch up your style and your products?
I think I can see myself staying with vintage, but I've noticed even in the past year, the what's popular in vintage is constantly changing.
Right.
And so, you know, 1 month it might be old Oshkosh gosh overalls.
Okay.
Everyone needs them. Everyone's looking for them. And then the next month it's, you know, a certain type of dress from the 1970s or something. It's very specific.
Wow.
But I think vintage will always have a place,
right,
in the market, but what it looks like and what's popular is always changing. But I've sort of carved for my own business, I've sort of carved out a niche. Sweaters, people sort of seem to come to me for sweaters.
Okay.
And so I've sort of focused in on that market. And thinking, well, if I can just be consistent with that, and you know, people always need sweaters. It gets cold.
Absolutely. Well, there you go, right? If that's how you separate yourself, right? You're the sweater girl, right?
Yeah.
That happened just by accident, or what happened? How did that come to be?
I started to I was finding a lot of these really great sweaters, and especially in Canada, in the 70s, there's actually a sweater designer named Mary Maxim, and these sweaters that her company made have become sort of like coveted items, but they're hard to find. But in Canada, especially in BC, I find they're easier to get. So I was finding a lot of these great sweaters. And so people started sort of just coming to me for to buy their sweaters. And so I moved away from, things like frilly dresses, and because I noticed people weren't buying them from me anymore. And I'm just trying to focus on primarily vintage sweaters and vintage sweater adjacent items.
Okay. Well, there you go. That's great. I mean, we got 2 boys, 3 and 1. So, hey, maybe we could check you out, get some winter wear for them. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. My boys are 4 and 2.
Okay. We're right behind you. No, yeah. Living the dream. No, cool. No, that's great. And so, what do you think the future is going to look like? What COVID's gone, what do you want to be doing? I know you mentioned some public markets and stuff, but is there anything else you want to be doing once the dust settles, so to speak, with your business that you can't do right now?
Right. I'm not sure. It's been a pretty easy business to run during COVID.
Okay.
Except for the portion of time when all the thrift stores were closed.
Right.
It's luckily a model that works. And so I don't see myself changing it too much. But we'll see how people's shopping habits change after COVID. If they're still shopping online as much, or if people are just going to want to go crazy and just go to malls every day.
Yeah. Combination, I think. It's kind of like suppressed demand. People want to get out and do stuff again, but at the same time, they realize how convenient it is to just sit at home, click a few buttons, and have stuff sent directly to you. So I think you're gonna have a little bit of both. People realize pros and cons. So I think your model is safe for sure. If you're online, you can definitely scale it and grow it without too much interference. That's the upside. So, but yeah, a certain percentage of us will still want to go out and physically touch things before we buy them. So yeah, no, definitely. Now, do you have any tips or advice for fellow small business owners or people who are thinking about starting a small business?
Really just find out what differentiates you and your business from other ones that are similar to yours, and really hone in on that. I found that's what, and also like, be nice to people. It's really my number one.
Yeah.
Like, don't be afraid of, like, differentiate yourself from other businesses, but don't be afraid of other businesses necessarily that are like yours. Be kind to them, and collaborate with other people, and make yourself, like, you want to be well liked. It's not, you don't want to be known as the mean business owner.
No, absolutely. I mean, to expound on what you just said there, I mean, being in the fitness industry for 20 years, it's all about relationships. And I mean, helping people get in shape is great, but it's the relationships and the rapport that you build with people that really keeps them coming back.
Absolutely.
So being a nice person is always good. The niche part too is also very important. There's a saying in business: the riches are in the niches. So the more niche you can be, the better. And and competition just means that there's a market.
Yeah,
right? That's what it means. So you gotta look at it that way too. If you were the only person doing what you're doing, then maybe that means, hey, nobody wants this, right? So look at it that way as well. So no, that's great. Those are all great pieces of advice. Where can everyone find Kinder and Kodomo? Kodomo, did I say that right?
Kodomo, your choice. You can find us on Instagram at Kinder and Kodomo, or online, the online shop, kinderandkodomo.com.
Awesome. No, I appreciate your time, Georgia, and I wish you the best of luck in your journey, and keep your head up. It's the first year or two is always the hardest, but once you gain some momentum, you'll never look back. So that's great.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
No, awesome. And we'll definitely be keeping in touch and watching your journey.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.